The following is a Hoop Ball presentation.
Hello, and welcome to the Hoop Ball DFS Today podcast. I am your host, Mike Patria, joined by my good friend, Santino Cone. There's no jokes, but it's April Fool's. It's April 1st, and we're here to break down this nice little 7-game card that we have. Santino, I couldn't imagine that we'd be scheduled for any other day but April Fool's and be together. It's too fitting.
Yeah, it's a pretty solid day, I guess. You're making it real corny, but I respect it.
That's my guy. Yeah, I appreciate it. But yeah, we got 7 games to break down. It's going to be a nice little card for us on our hands. Nice. I like these. 6 to 8 is always like right in the wheelhouse. It's not too much, not too little. But as always, before we jump into anything, quick shout out to our presenting sponsors over at MyBookie. If you guys haven't checked them out, if you've never heard of them, probably under a rock, but head over to mybookie.ag. They are the number one sports book out there, guys. The only one I give my stamp of approval for. The only one I trust with my money for all my sports betting needs. So whether you want to do some NBA action, March Madness is starting to get down into the nitty gritty with the Final Four coming up. So and we got baseball opening day tomorrow. So whatever sport you want to play, whatever you want to do, you can head over to MyBookie and do it. And they also have a fully fledged casino platform. Open 24/7. Check them out, guys. Use the promo code HOOPBALL, HOOPBALL, on your initial deposit, and you will receive a 50% deposit match on up to $1,000. So you put in $1,000, they give you $500 for free to play with. Use that promo code HOOPBALL, HOOPBALL. All right, Santino, ready to jump into this?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Philadelphia 76ers traveling to Cleveland, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time game. As far as the injury report goes, look at this Cleveland Cavaliers. Funny thing is, we only have two game lines out of 7. I was doing the show with Keith last night, 10 games total. We had 7 of them, 7 out of 10. We're 2 for 7 tonight. But for Cleveland, Jared Allen's out, as well as Larry Nance Jr. Larry Nance dealing with the injury or illness. Jared Allen still dealing with the concussion. Dellavedova, Kevin Love, questionable. So a little bit of an upgrade for Kevin Love, questionable. Dylan Windler, doubtful. On the Sixers side of things, Joel Embiid still ruled out. George Hill and Mason Jones ruled out. This is not one of the games we had the game total for. So I'll pass it over to you, Santino. Talk about the Sixers squad.
Yeah, so we still have no Embiid for one more game. They said he should be playing Saturday, but this is a pretty good spot. I mean, there's both front court guys are going to be out in this one. Nance, Allen. Don't know even if Delado or a Love plays. Probably not going to play more than 15 minutes. So this is going to be a solid matchup, and I think you could look at both of Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris. Both guys have not been doing great, especially Ben Simmons. He hasn't really brought value back at all. But this is a solid matchup for him, and there's no paint present whatsoever on Cleveland right now. And with that said, I think we can look at Dwight Howard also, 5,600. He's going to go up against Isaiah Hartenstein, and then Lamar Stevens as the primary backup big. I mean, a lot to like there. And it's also Cleveland, who's just not that good and not that good defensively anyway. So I think we can take a look at all 3 big guys, and then maybe some Matisse Thybulle and Mike Scott for people under 4K that are going to get a little bit of solid run there and could bring back some points in the 20s.
I'm with you. I think when you look at a lot of these guys around that, hovering around that 9K range, even looking at like Trae Young, 9,400. I just prefer Simmons, 8,900. You talked about there's no real paint presence, and Ben Simmons not necessarily taking advantage of the 3-point line. Most of his scoring is going to come in that paint. So all that is just a plus, knowing that he could just easily take advantage of this team defensively. They have no one. I don't know. They're probably going to throw a core at him. But, this dude was averaging about 40 DK points in this matchup in 2 games earlier in the season. And with both those games, they were not the exact same situations, the exact same usage that he's going to have right now. I think one of those games Embiid played, and in that game that Embiid played, he put up 74 DK points. So there's definitely plenty of opportunity for Ben Simmons to look at like a 50-point game in this one, in my opinion. So I have him up there. And anytime him and Harris, they're both great options, him and Harris, but $200 difference, I'm just going to play Simmons. It makes the decision pretty easy for me. That's probably it for Philly for me. But on the other side of the ball, you touched on it with Cleveland. Jared Allen, Larry Nance, both these guys looking like they're on the better half and not playing. So Isaiah Hartenstein, touch on him, man.
Oh, I thought you were talking.
Oh no, I want to give you the thunder because I don't know. I like playing this kid, so I think
he's under 4K. They don't have another center option, so I mean, why wouldn't you play him here? He put up near over 30 points in the last one, 35 DK points. I don't think he's going to get 14 rebounds and 7 assists again, but he'll probably shoot a little bit better than 2 for 8 from the field. May not have 5 personal fouls, so should see 30-plus minutes as long as he's not in foul trouble. Under 4K, you're not going to find that type of run really anywhere. And then another guy under almost bare minimum, you could look at Taurian Prince. We just mentioned no Jared Allen, no Larry Nance. He played in the last one. Not the greatest of point-per-minute guys or greatest fantasy guy, but at bare minimum, he should play 25-plus minutes now that he's got some wind back. Dean Wade should start 4,600. Garland shouldn't. I prefer Garland over Sexton with that big discount. But without anybody in the front court, we can look at some of these bodies here, and there's just a lot of cheap value.
Yeah, I don't hate the backcourt guys, and it's just you touched on it. We have 7 other games, so I'll probably opt with going with mostly just the front court guys here. Hartenstein, 3,700. Wouldn't be surprised if he ends up drawing the start, as we record this the night before. Just knowing that they're probably going to end up rolling out Howard in the starting lineup, but we'll have to wait and see. Regardless, I hope he comes off the bench. That's what we're hoping. Less ownership. This guy's probably going to be pretty chalky after that initial game he had. He's always been a fantastic point per minute guy. Wherever he's kind of made brief stops. I think he came up kind of with Houston, and he had some pretty big DFS games. If you've been playing DFS, I think he came up like 2 or 3 years ago. But he's been bouncing around a little bit, but found a home here at Cleveland. They need a center right now, and he should be looking at minimum, like you said, 25, 26 minutes, absolute minimum, probably over 30 if the game stays close and he stays out of foul trouble. Actually, it doesn't matter if it stays close. He's playing regardless. Move on to the next game. Washington Wizards traveling to Detroit. They're taking on the Pistons in here. Pistons on the second half of a back-to-back, so no injury report for them. Before the Wizards, Bradley Beal is questionable, deal with the right hip contusion. Davis Bertans, Thomas Bryant, Daniel Gafford, and Ish Smith all rolled out. Raul Neto. I was going to say Raul Neto. Raul Neto is questionable. And no game total. No spread for this one either. We'll start with the Wizards here. Westbrook just kind of been a dominant force, not only on the court, but on Instagram. I don't know if you happen to see what his wife and him were talking about, kind of, going at Stephen A. And in my opinion, rightfully so. I really enjoyed that. But 11K, one of the most, if not, I think she actually is the most expensive guy on the slate, Santino. The guy you're spending on?
Yeah, I mean, he's just crushing his value right now. Even in a 7 for 20 shooting slump against the Hornets, he put up near 70 DK points. The game before that, we all know what that was. But if Bradley Beal misses this game again, I mean, mark this guy for another 20, 15-ish triple-double. You know what you're paying for. If you have the 11K and you like the rest of your lineup, why, as Russ likes to say, why not? Why not spend him up for him? And it's kind of that simple for me. Detroit, no one on that defense poses a threat to stop him from doing what he does. So yeah, I'll go right there. And then if Beal misses, Rui's been stepping up. He's the number 2 option. There's really no other guys that are scoring here, and he's playing a boatload of minutes. And he's taken 49 shots in the last 2 games. So at 6.8, do I hate that price tag for him? Would I want to spend that? No. But I mean, if there's no Beal, who besides Westbrook is going to take shots? And he's actually outshot Westbrook. So don't hate going there. And then I guess if there's no Beal, there's not a lot of other people there, we can take stabs at some of these other guys. Like Jerome Robinson's been starting for Beal. He's only 3,500. And that's probably the best of the under 4Ks that I would go here on this team.
Yeah, I think actually, I don't know if I cut out or if you cut out early on when you first started talking about Westbrook, but I pretty much got the gist of that. And again, I don't know if it was I got lost or if you got lost, but from what I got from it, Westbrook's a fantastic play. He's, with no Beal, there's no way that he's not paying off his price tag, pretty much. Going against Detroit, and if that is what you said, Santino, which that's what I got, and I'm with it. I don't see how this guy just doesn't continuously keep paying off his price tag. He's been doing it. He's going to be a triple-double machine, especially the fact that he's just like arguing on Instagram and all that good stuff. That he's an emotional player. This dude's playing for passion. He's playing with a purpose and a point. He kind of said he's not going ring hunting. He's a champion in life. I expect him just to continuously just keep pouring it on, and if there's no Beal, lock him in. 11K is going to be in my lineups if there's no Beal. If there is Beal, there's some other options that we could look at. I'll still play some Westbrook at 11K regardless. Doesn't matter to me that much. But I'll definitely, probably ease back on a few lineups. But outside of that, I don't know if I'll go to Rui, but the 49 shot attempts over 2 games is kind of absurd. He's a guy that, I don't think is very good at basketball. But if he's going to shoot this much, I gotta keep him in the player pool. Jerome Robinson, 3,500, definitely in play. If Beal is out. On the other side of the ball, Detroit side of things, we'll have to keep an eye on this one. I think Diallo sat on the second half of a back-to-back their last game, but he's on his I think he's 4 games back from his groin injury. So he's working his way back. There's a decent chance he does not play in this one, but we'll have to kind of monitor that. But why don't you talk about this Detroit team?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's more than Diallo that we have to watch out for to sit. We've seen Wayne Ellington miss the last one. Magruder missed the last one. Dumboya came in questionable. Dennis Smith Jr. missed the last one. Corey Joseph's an older veteran. A lot of people to keep an eye out for to see if they're playing or not playing, and that's going to pretty much change the outlook on the whole team on who's in, who's out. But this is a fantastic matchup. They don't play too fast, the Pistons, but they're going to be playing fast in this particular matchup against a team that just runs and runs and runs. Doesn't play much defense. We can look at Mason Plumley. He hasn't. He played 30 minutes in the last one. Before that, only 18, and then before that, he was playing around 30 or so. But we know the center spot on Washington is just easy pickings. So at 6K, we can look at him there. If you really wanted a cheaper center too, you can look at Isaiah Stewart. These teams played not too long ago, and Isaiah Stewart put up 24.5 points. In 21 minutes, so we can see in a near double-double, so we can see both those guys, and then just monitor the news and see who's in, who's out, because if Diallo sits or Josh Jackson sits, any of these guys sit, there's a lot of solid options out here. If Dennis Smith Jr. sits again, we have Saban Lee at 4,500 for another cheap option. He had himself a decent game. Just a lot of value on this team going against the Wizards that we'll have to see who actually suits up and who's starting here, but it's a team that I'll have some solid exposure to.
Yeah, I mean it's just an uptick tempo. I mean we know neither team plays defense. If we're playing some Washington, we're gonna want somebody on the other side of the ball. I think Plumlee's a fantastic option. He averages a point per minute DK wise going against this team earlier in the season. Only played about 26 minutes. I think he put about almost 30 DK points, but you said it. They have absolutely no front court options. If Diallo does play, I mean, this dude is just kind of absorbing a lot of this usage now. A lot of these guys, less Sadiq Bey shots we've been seeing, less Josh Jackson we've been seeing. So clearly they want this dude to be a big part of their offense and a big part of their team, or at least they want to see what he can do. But there's a decent chance he sits. Outside of those two guys, Saban Lee, he's going to continuously start point guard as long as Dennis Smith Jr. is out. If Wayne Ellington's out, Frank Jackson's been playing. He's been shooting great from behind the arc, but largely just score dependent. So I'll be really just looking at, Mason Plumlee. I'll be taking some shots at Saban Lee. I'll be keeping a close eye on Diallo. I want to play more of these guys, but, a lot of them, it feels like it's almost a crapshoot. I think Jeremy Grant, I don't think we really touched on him. He's always in play. I don't think that needs to be said too much. He's been down a little bit over the past few games. He had a big one tonight against Portland, so this might be his like get right game. But this is just a fantastic matchup, and at 7,200, that always feels like that's where his price tag should be. So I don't know if we're really getting him out of value. But we just know what that dude could do in the offensive role. He's been kind of hoisting this team with all year long. Next game, Charlotte Hornets traveling to Brooklyn, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time game. For the Nets, no injury report. They're on the second half of the back-to-back. For the Hornets, LaMelo Ball ruled out. Malik Monk is probable. No game total, no spread. Pass it over to you, man. Let's talk about this Hornets team.
Yeah, and this Hornets team's on the front end of the back-to-back. But this is another good pace-up spot, and James Harden left late in the third quarter and didn't return with hamstring tightness tonight in the front end of the back-to-back. So he's probably on the wrong side of questionable for this one. And then, Aldridge, Shamet, they missed the last one, probably not going to play. KD's not going to play. With all that said, this is a good spot for them. If there's no James Harden, I mean, you're going to be playing more backups, and we'll see what happens there. But I think Devontae Graham at 6,400 is in a nice spot. PJ Washington, now that Brooklyn's trying to go a little bit smaller, this guy's been playing, had a few bad games. He didn't score a point the other night. He was, I believe, 0 for 7 or 0 for something high in 44 minutes. And he still wound up putting up 12 points and blocks and steals and a couple assists. You just think if a couple shots fell there, that's pretty rock solid value. So I don't mind looking at him and Graham for where they're priced. And those are probably the two highest guys I'll go for. Malik Monk at 4.9. If he's playing, he's going to shoot, and this is a matchup where he can shoot, so we can look to him there. And then I'm looking at this actual center position. Cody Zeller popped up with 24 minutes in their last game out of nowhere when he seemingly was out of the rotation, and he split 24 minutes with Bismack. So what I want to find out before I lock in anybody in PJ too is, are they transitioning more back to traditional center, or are they going to play PJ more at the center spot? And if they're doing the former, then Biyombo and Zeller, whoever's getting that start, both under 4K, come into play for me because the Brooklyn matchup.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that might have just been like Westbrook just punished Biyombo so hard with that dunk that they were like, we need to give this guy a quick break. Let's throw Zeller back in there real quick. So this guy's got to get some court time. But I think all these guys are in play. I mean, pretty much every single one of them at their price right now, earlier in the season, paid off that price tag. I think it was outside of Rozier, because Rozier is now up to 8K. He only put up about 30 DK points, but he's still very, very much into play in this matchup. And, factoring all of that into play, LaMelo Ball did play in that game. It was early on in the season, so he didn't have a huge role, only played 20 minutes in that game, that is being LaMelo. So it's, I think we could have a decent understanding of what the usage is going to kind of look like. But we're gonna have to.
I hear you're dinging.
Yeah, I got a little text action. But we're gonna have to. Yeah, I think I just got thrown off by that text, man. I don't even know what that was. But I think Devontae Graham, 6,400, very much in play. I think that PJ Washington, 6,300, pretty much a center going against the Nets. Doesn't matter who you are. He plays power forward, but like you said, he'll see a fair amount of time at the big man spot here. He put up 40 DK points in this matchup earlier in the year, so I think we can look at PJ Washington as well. Gordon Hayward, 79, getting a little bit of an elevated price tag now that LaMelo's been out for a few games. Wanted to argue with it. Probably not going to be the first guy, but all these guys are in fantastic matchups. And like you said, whoever actually does draw that start at center, probably going to be looking at chopping the minutes. Wouldn't probably see more than 24 or 25, but under that 4K mark, they're going to be in play going against Brooklyn. On the net side of the ball, though, no James Harden is what I think we could expect knowing it's the second half of a back-to-back. This team has playoff aspirations. He's dealing with hamstring, left the game, didn't return. Kyrie Irving is going to be 9,800. Is he a lock, or is he somebody that we can consider keeping the player pool, but not, we can still get some other guys in there.
If you're not going to spend up to Westbrook and you want that discount, he has the best matchup of the other guys without Harden in there, and knowing you're going against the Hornets and Devontae Graham. That's a very enticing matchup for who should be the lone superstar on the Nets team. So yeah, I would prefer him over some of the other options right around him, whether they're slightly above him or slightly below him. Kyrie is just in a great spot, assuming that Harden wakes up tomorrow and they're just going to be extremely cautious, which I expect them to be. And outside of him, I mean, go down the list and look. Everybody's going to get a little bit more shots here. Joe Harris is now back to the number 2 guy. You're probably going to have Bruce Brown start. Maybe Blake Griffin plays a little bit more. I don't really like the Blake Griffin. I'm not going to play him. Probably not going to have too much Bruce Brown, but I think we could look at like a Nick Claxton who gets a little bit more or run here. Maybe they play bump everybody up slightly just to make up for Harden. Kyrie goes to point guard, and then everybody else just bumps up a little bit. Maybe you see some more Nick Claxton there. But I think Harris and Claxton and a little bit of Bruce Brown would be the guys that I'd be looking at outside of Irving.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Bruce Brown is just a go-to guy anytime we see that either Kyrie or Harden are out. But Harden's, a little bit more of a ball-dominant point guard as opposed to Irving. So having him off the floor, I definitely think gives Bruce Brown a little bit of an uptick. Joe Harris, his shot was on tonight. I believe he hit like 7 3-pointers or something like that. But 5,500, when this guy's going to get the usage of the shot attempts, he's worth it. And this was a game that both these guys were available. So I don't mind looking at a guy like Joe Harris at that price tag, very much available. And I might even try to get Kyrie and Westbrook in my lineups. I think, being able to do that, we already talked about a ton of value. We're only 3 games in, man. We talked about a ton of value that under that 3K mark, 4K mark, I'm sorry. So I think there's a good option we could get both these guys in here. We're going to talk about a few other guys that we're definitely going to like as well. But it's going to be hard not to like them both. 9,800 isn't expensive. We're pretty much looking for a 50-point return. But there's no one on that other side of the ball that's really stopping Kyrie Irving. You ready to move on to the next one?
Yep.
Golden State Warriors traveling to Miami. They're taking on the Heat. For the Warriors, Eric Pascal and Klay Thompson both ruled out. No injury report for the Heat.
Yeah, but second night of a back-to-back.
Yeah. And it is also the only game. It's crazy how to do this. It's one of the only games that we have a game total for. We have many teams that are on back-to-backs, but we have no game totals for it. But this one we do. 218.5. The Heat are favored by 1.5 points. Steph Curry back. Didn't miss a beat. Only played 30 minutes in the last one, but looked like his normal self. Came out, put up 51 DK points. 9,600, he's going to draw the line right there at Kyrie. He'd probably be the pivot. I think more people would probably go straight to Kyrie Irving, knowing that this is a matchup against the Heat. It's a little bit less enticing. With all that being said, he is the pivot for a reason. He has just as much upside, just maybe, I guess, on this exact night with no Harden, I guess lower of a floor. So he's been play for me for GPPs. Outside of that, I don't mind looking at Draymond Green. I like Draymond a lot better when Steph's back on the floor. A lot less attention is drawn to him if he wants to bring the ball up the floor. So if I want to go to Draymond, I think that is the best time to do it. And outside of those two, I do not think I will be playing anybody else going against the Heat. But I will pass it over to you. Get your Golden State thoughts.
Yeah, and the Warriors, they're on the front end of a back-to-back, but they play the Raptors tomorrow. So I would assume if they do sit someone, probably in that game, just because it's a little bit easier of a matchup. Yeah, I mean, you could look at Curry, but I just prefer Harden I'd prefer Kyrie, as I alluded to, with assuming that Harden's out. Just makes a lot of sense to go there, and I think a lot of people are. So if you do want a less owned pivot, Curry makes sense in GPPs, but probably not going to have much exposure to anyone in this particular matchup. Just doesn't seem like the highest of scoring matchups here. And looking at all the pricing, I mean, I would like Wiseman, but I don't really trust him against Bam to exceed 5,200 too much.
Bam feels like he's gonna just teach him a lesson. I could see this being on like ESPN the following morning that like Bam just dunks on him 3 times throughout the night. I believe it was also Wiseman's birthday today. That is the night that we're recording this, March 31st. So he's now a 20-year-old, if I'm not mistaken. So he's a man. But he's going to get grown man by Bam. So, Yeah, I would love him just knowing that they're kind of talking about giving him a bigger role, starting to actually run pick and roll, something Steve Kerr hasn't done in like 3 or 4 years with that team, and kind of just going more towards the Wiseman approach, I guess, but not in this matchup. On the Miami side, Butler at 9K, I think that is an absolutely splendid price tag. He's been kind of floating around that 92, 93, 100, and now he's floating around at 9K. I don't mind him. I like this matchup. For him. I don't think they really have an answer. They're going to throw Wiggins on him most likely, but he should be able to just hold his own. So not my favorite option. I probably prefer to spend up the extra, just 600 or 800, get to Curry, get to Kyrie. But again, this dude has a high floor and high ceiling. He put up 53 DK points in this matchup, so I wouldn't fault you. See, he's got that small forward eligibility, which I think we all know when we're rounding out our lineup. Small forward sometimes tends to be the more annoying position that we either just spend up or spend down on. And outside of him, Bam at 83. I just talked about it. He's going to absolutely teach Wiseman a lesson most likely in this game, so I wouldn't fault you to go there. I think the way my lineups are shaking out, I'm spending up, and I'm spending some good bucks. I want to get some Ben Simmons. If I want to get Westbrook, if I want to get Irving, if I want to get some of these other guys, I might not be able to spend up at the center position. So I don't know if I end up with Bam, but this is still just an absolute fantastic matchup for him. And then we should continue to see Trevor Ariza play some decent minutes. He didn't shoot well for the past few games. He's 2 of 14 over the last 2. And that should right himself. He's a guy that normally prides himself. And I think he's been notoriously known since his Laker days. Back me up, I think, here, Santino, as one of the best 3-point corner shooters, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so being 0 for 6 from behind the arc over the past 2 games is very unlike him. So 4,500, not a ton of juice left on the bone if he's only going to be playing mid 20 minutes, but still some there left for us.
Yeah, I'm a little bit different. I don't mind playing Bam. I think he would be my favorite play on this slate. But I know that Victor Oladipo is going to be making his debut in this one, and that's going to change up everything. And they're going to have to. He's going to have to learn how to play with them, and they're going to learn how to play with him. And usually it takes a couple games to adjust. And then when you're going up against a team with the 8th best defensive rating, even though they play at the 2nd highest pace, adjusting is not something that I want to pay for, particularly in this game. So I'm going to leave all of these guard and wing options alone. And if I do attack someone, it'll be Bam at 83. But I do think we have other options that we already even mentioned that are cheap on that center spot there.
Yeah, it's a great point that you brought up. I kind of buried the lead and I didn't even mention that, so I'm glad. And it's funny because I think we were actually talking about this earlier, just casually on the phone, that he was going to be returning today, and I didn't mention it. So great call. I'm glad you brought that up. And yeah, I don't expect him to probably come out here and play like 30 minutes, especially since he was dealing with an illness that kind of delayed his initial debut with Miami. But he's definitely going to obviously have to take a fair amount of shot attempts, a fair amount of usage with this team. We'll probably start seeing less Tyler Hero. I believe Kendrick Nunn was questionable. I don't know if he actually ended up suiting up tonight. Do you know about that, Santino? Did Kendrick Nunn actually play?
I wasn't watching the Heat game before we went on, so I'm not 100% sure on that.
I don't think he did. No. So Kendrick Nunn was unavailable, so he did not play tonight. And if he sits again, we'll probably see regular normal minutes for guys like Hero and Dragic, but definitely expect the usage to be decreased as opposed to Oladipo coming and playing in town as opposed to Kendrick Nunn. He's going to have to take more than that. But we'll slide on to the next game. We're kind of going to have to wait and see what the starting lineup looks like, but those are pretty much our general thoughts on Miami. 3 games left. Orlando Magic traveling to New Orleans. They're taking on the Pelicans in this one. For the Pelicans, Lonzo Ball and Zion, both questionable. Zion seemingly, I guess, dodged a bullet, the franchise is saying. But who knows what the franchise really says after JJ Redick's podcast. But they said that they thought he sprained his thumb and he was going to miss a few weeks. Turns out it's going to be much more of a short-term injury, saying that he might not miss any time at all. Either way, I want Zion to have both thumbs, so that's gonna be tough. But on the Magic side, Cole Anthony's still out. He's expected to return on the road trip at some point. Markelle Fultz, Gary Harris, Jonathan Isaac, all out. No game to I lied. 224.5 game total. We actually do have one. Pelicans, this feels broken. but it's probably right. Favored by 10.5 points. It just feels so weird seeing the Pelicans favored by 10.5 points. But we'll start off with this Orlando team, man. It's been a little weird. It's definitely been a little weird. But I think with a lot of these price tags and a lot of these lineups that we've been seeing, there's definitely some spots we could take advantage of.
Yeah, and they're on the front end of a back-to-back, so they're probably going to play most people. And I mean, the Pelicans is my bad. The Pelicans are on the front end of a back-to-back, but we are on the Magic right now. I got a little ahead of myself there, but this is a good matchup for both teams. The Magic, we already know what the Magic have now, and it's just a bunch of youth and a bunch of people that are going to play hard, but outside of upsetting the Clippers, who just like to get laughed at, don't really see them being too competitive or get too many wins out there. But as far as DFS, we saw that Terrence Ross just didn't have it in the last game. And at 7,100, he's still going to be the guy to take the most shots for the most part. He took 12 in the last one, and he took 8 free throws. So you figure that at 16 shots there, that leads the team. But I'm looking at guys like Okeke. He's been playing pretty solid, and he's still under 6K, so I think we can look at him. Most of these guys are in the mid 5K range, so it's tough that they're all kind of like splitting minutes right now, and that's fair price tags for most of these guys, like Carter Williams, Okeke, Carter Jr., Porter Jr., Bamba. Those are the guys that I want to target, but they're all in that within 4.9 to 5.9 that I'm probably not going to have much exposure to them, but this matchup is very good to where I'll take some shots. Like Bamba at 4.9. Steven Adams, he's just going to bring him out of the paint here. Carter Jr., at some point, both those two centers are going to steal a lot of Kem Birch's minutes, and Birch is going to play more power forward next to them. But I think I like those two, Porter Jr. and Okeke, the most.
Look around you. That car you're driving, that house your family lives in, making your daughter laugh, inspiring her to dream. You did that. Teaching your son to drive, teaching him he can be anything, all you. And your dreams for tomorrow, you'll do that too. Legacies don't just happen, they are made by you. The important word being you. American Family Insurance, protecting your dreams as you achieve them. Insure carefully, dream fearlessly.
Products not available in every state. American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI, and its operating companies, American Family Life Insurance Company, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
It's Mattress Firm's semi-annual sale, where you can save up to $300 on our top-rated brands like Sealy and Sleepy's. Plus, get a free adjustable base when you spend $6.99 on Sealy. Or buy Tempur-Pedic and get a $300 instant gift good towards sleep accessories. Shop Tempur-Pedic, Stearns & Foster, and more with our sleep experts today to find your best sleep. Only at Mattress Firm. Offer valid with qualifying purchase. Restrictions apply. Valid at participating locations only. For offer details, visit mattressfirm.com/sale.
Yeah, I think that it's a little troubling with a lot of these guys being in that 5K range because we expect like 2 or 3 of these guys to return value. Which 2 or 3 is kind of the question, but I like all these guys in that 5K range, to be honest. If Zion sits, obviously that gives a big boost to anybody in the front court that doesn't have to deal with getting rammed into him all night long, especially Okeke. Okeke being an undersized guy as it is, Zion will pretty much kind of like bulldoze him into oblivion if he really wanted to for the entire night. So I would have more interest in Okeke with Zion out. I still think he's in play either way. But Carter Williams at 5,900, he's going to continue just to play the bulk of the point guard minutes. The guy's shots never falling. He's basically like, what like Twitter imagines Lonzo Ball is. They think like for some reason Twitter treats Lonzo Ball like he's just the worst player of all time. But in reality, he's just going to be a guy that doesn't turn out a lot of points. He's never going to shoot great from the field, but he'll give you good assists. He's going to give you good boards, chip in some defensive stats. Put up 40 DK points in that last one on 3 of 10 shooting. So in up-paced games, in games where now he's going to have to be forced to take a little bit more shot attempts, now that they don't have Evan Fournier, Aaron Gordon, Vucevic, he's going to have to shoot. So I don't mind taking a look at him at 5,900. I think him and Okeke would probably be my first 2 options. And if we see a change in the starting lineup where Porter Jr. or Wendell Carter Jr. start, excuse me, then I think we could start looking at them. But until they're starting, it's a little too hard to trust them coming off the bench, splitting those minutes. But on the other side of the ball, Lonzo and Zion, both questionable. Makes things a little bit tough. But why don't you talk about this team?
Yeah, and it's kind of hard to gauge exactly where they're going to be with two of their starters and two of their main usage guys not playing or possibly not playing this one. If Zion sits and whether ball plays or not, Brandon Ingram becomes the go-to guy on this team. At under 8K, definitely someone we could look at, and you could probably get him with 1 to 2 of those top-tier guys as well, because it's not an abnormal or absurd price tag to get a third relatively high-priced guy. He's just under the high tier, as we like to say. And yeah, if Zion's not going to be in there, I mean, Brandon Ingram in Orlando, him being the sole shooter on this team, definitely go there. And then you look, if Lonzo doesn't play, I know Naw is now 6.1. I don't want to go there, but if Lonzo and Zion don't play, I mean, this guy's not afraid to shoot. He can be in my player pool. I'm probably not going to go there much, but I can't fault anybody for going that route. Just knowing him and Ingram are going to take the majority of these shots here. And that's probably like where I'll be looking. I don't know how competitive this game will be. It's a 10-point spread. It's probably slightly closer than that. Maybe people are going to be going back to Orlando thinking, oh, they just beat the Clippers on the road. So maybe they can do that, but it's hard for me to see that them doing that again, even if Zion or Ball miss this.
Yeah, I think if we see that Zion says Ingram's got to be a near lock at 7,800, he's going to end up being probably everyone's favorite darling. Orlando's got really nothing that can handle him defensively. It's a fantastic matchup from regardless, but we can expect 20 plus shot attempts at that point if there's no Zion. You said it perfectly with Naw 6,100. It's a tough price tag to pay, but the guy's been routinely churning out 30-point games. And if there's no Zion, then we have 30 DK point games. That is, if there's no Zion, then it's kind of hard not to imagine it doesn't at least continue and probably get a nice little boost. And then I think another guy that we could take a look at. He's been flying around on the radar. Nobody actually likes him. Nobody actually thinks he's good at basketball anymore. But Eric Bledsoe at 5,100, if there is no Zion, if there is no Lonzo, he'll probably force to step up a little bit more offensively than he's been asked to do over the past season. But there was a brief stretch where I think it was early March, mid-March, where this dude was an afterthought during the trade deadline. He was getting 20 minutes, 25, 26 minutes. And that's quietly been put to bed over the past 5 games. He's played at least 30 minutes. Over the past 4, at least 33 minutes. So he's playing his minutes again. And as long as those two guys sit, I imagine a couple extra shot attempts. So not a terrible play, not the best play, but he's in play. So I will look at him. I think he's probably a better GPP play just because he has that 20-point floor, which is pretty awful. But
20-point floor.
Yeah, it might even be lower than that. You're probably right. But I think I could definitely look at him. And that's, again, with no Zion, no Lonzo, I can see myself taking a couple stabs at him. Nobody on Orlando really scares me away from it. Ready to move on to the next one?
Yes, sir.
Atlanta Hawks traveling to San Antonio. They're taking on the Spurs in this one. For the Hawks, John Collins, Chris Dunn, Cam Reddish, all ruled out. DeAndre Hunter is questionable. The Spurs have yet to submit an injury report. It's because they're on the second half. Are they on the second half? Yeah, second half of back-to-back.
Yep, and the Hawks are on the front end.
Yep, absolutely. And no game total, no spread. We already got them out of the way. The 2 for the night were the last 2 games that we just talked about. So I'll pass it over to you. Atlanta Hawks, we're looking at Trae Young at 9,400. It's an expensive price tag for him. We've already talked about so many other guys. How do you feel?
Yeah, I'm not gonna go here. Pretty solid matchup. Murray and White are both good defenders, but Trae Young can get his when he wants. Even in bad games, he's been putting up stats. But I just like the other options, and that's where I'll be on that one. As far as Capella, I think he's in a solid matchup. We know John Collins is not going to be playing in this one, so it really opens up things for Capella to grab as many rebounds as possible. You figure Gallinari is going to start, and if he doesn't, maybe they throw in Solomon Hill and keep that second unit together. I can't imagine DeAndre Hunter is going to get like 30 minutes in this one if he does play. So Yeah, Capella's going to be a one-man band down there. Him and Pirtle are going to be bodying each other for rebounds, and I'm all for that. And I guess, as I mentioned, Gallinari, if he does draw the start and he's going to be playing 30 minutes, say Hunter's not ready to play in this one, at 5,200, that's a rock solid price tag for a guy that is now going to be seeing maybe the number 2 option on offense. So I like that there. That's probably it. I know Bogdanovich has been playing a little bit better, but I think Lou Williams might be back for this one. He didn't debut in the last game, but he might, and that just takes off a little of the shine that Bogdo's been having lately.
Yeah, that Bogdo shine's been nice, and he really stepped up in that last one. He actually really took most of the minutes when Collins went out. I mean, Collins only played 15 minutes in that game where he got hurt, and we've seen Bogdo play 37 as opposed to 23 and 21 the 2 games prior. He gets 30 here and there, but he got boosted straight up to 37. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Gallinari only finished the game with 23 minutes. So that's not saying that's what's going to happen going forward. You're probably right. It's going to be Gallo starting. It's probably going to be Gallo getting the most minutes. And if Lou Williams comes back, he's most likely going to eat into the guard rotation a little bit more than the power forward rotation. But I still think he's definitely going to be in play at 5,400. I don't love that price tag, but it wouldn't shock me if he ends up being second on this team in shot attempts. It wouldn't shock me if Gallo is either. Both these guys very similar price tags. I'm with you, though, on Trae Young. I won't be playing Trae Young. And then Capella, 7,700. He's a great play. We've been seeing it time and time again when they list him as questionable or if they limit his minutes. This dude could play 35 minutes. It's just they're trying to preserve him. And in the situations where they can't, they run him out there. We've seen him play 35 minutes in the game that John Collins got hurt. Wouldn't shock me if we see him play 34 or 35 minutes in another game without John Collins. So I think he's in play at 7,700. So I'll be looking at Capella, Bogdanovich, Gallinari, and I'll probably draw the line there. I don't even think I end up with any more than maybe 1 or 2 of them. On the Spurs side of the ball, though, going against the Hawks, generally like to look at these point guards going against Trae Young. DeJounte Murray, Derek White, you touched on both being pretty good defensively. It's going to be hard not to like them both in this game on offense as well. So DeJounte Murray, 7,100. Really like him. I'm definitely interested. Played 24 minutes against this Hawks team earlier in the season. Put up 34 DK points, 16, 6, and 5 with a couple defensive numbers as well. Plays a full game against them. It's kind of hard that he doesn't pay off that $7,100 price tag. But at a point per dollar standpoint, who do you like more, him or White?
And that's a tough one. White is hit or miss, but I'd probably go White just to save that $1,100 there. I think Murray outscores him, but that $1,100 is going to be kind of big on this slate because I know I like some of these top dogs, and then you got a lot of this value, but probably going to be wind up needing that $1,100 on just a early estimate there.
I can't falter. They're both great plays. DeRozan at 76, not somebody I see myself going to, but I wouldn't fault you if you do. Just talked about, like you said, so many guys either a little bit of a tier lower, a little bit of a tier higher. And if it is, probably at that $7,600 range, I prefer Capella on the other side. But again, I wouldn't fault you. It's a great matchup for all these Spurs guys. I don't think I'll be going to Pirtle. But again, I know that's your boy Santino. I know you're going to probably touch on him, so I'll let you do your thing.
I probably won't go too hard to him either, but he has been playing really well the last couple games, and he's been playing over 30 minutes in the last 4 now. I don't know if I'll particularly go to him in this matchup. I just think him and Capella are going to be. It's going to be fun to watch both of them. But under 6K, he makes my player pool. But I think the most exposure I'll have here is Murray and White, probably in reverse order.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Yeah, it's gonna be fun to see some Capella, Pirtle body smacking for some boards. Both these guys should finish.
Yeah, you wanted to say something weird. I know.
No. You wanted me to say something weird is what you wanted. That's what you wanted. You just wanted to hear it involving Pirtle. No, nothing weird coming on this end right here. We're good. We're gonna continue remain this professional into the last game. Denver Nuggets traveling to LA take on the Clippers here. For the Nuggets, it's only Monte Morris on the injury report. He's ruled out. For the Clippers, Patrick Beverley, Paul George, Serge Ibaka, Rajon Rondo, all ruled out. Marcus Morris Sr. is questionable. What a game to end the night on. I mean, we want everyone to be healthy, but it still should be some pretty fun action. Talk about this Denver Nuggets team. I guess now with Aaron Gordon in the mix, how does that affect things? And, can we still pay that 10-6 price tag for Jokic?
I'm personally not, but if you did want to, a rematch with this Clippers team is where you'd want to go. But I'd just rather play for Westbrook, especially if there's no Beal. You can just expect a much faster pace game in the other one. Outside of that, anytime you're incorporating a new guy, especially a guy like Jokic, he's going to want to get him involved and make him feel comfortable. And that's why he's one of the favorites for MVP right now. This guy is just very team-oriented. He doesn't care if he's the one who scores or the other people score. He just wants to win the basketball game. And so I think him specifically, he's gonna let Gordon get his. Porter Jr.'s not that type of guy. He's gonna go and get his when he wants to. Jamal Murray is gonna try and get his as well. I just don't love the matchup for anybody in particular. But I probably will look at like a Will Barton under 6K. But this is one of those good real life basketball games that Murray, Jokic, Porter, Gordon, all these guys could go. I'm not going to put Gordon there. Sorry. The first three guys can go off, but it's going to be hard to pick which one exactly. And I don't think it's going to be Jokic.
I think I'm not going to fall. I'm kind of with you. I don't think I end up with Jokic as much, but again, he's in that Steph Curry range, just that pivot, where we expect him to probably be a little bit, maybe he's not even lower. Yeah, if Beal sits, he'll be lower owned than Westbrook for sure. But, Beal plays, they'll probably be very similar ownerships, and I think I'd still prefer Westbrook even if Beal plays. It's just the way I'm going. You talked about that game total, but I don't think there's any NBA fan loves more than just like an untraditional and unorthodox player. Just somebody doing something that just looks weird and that it shouldn't be done. And that's like all about Jokic's game. The no-look passes, like the stupid one dribble jump shots that this guy does where he's like looking at the ground and it just doesn't make sense. Like something you'd see at a YMCA. And he's just nailing it. And he's a fun dude to watch, but not a guy, like you said, a very good matchup to watch, not one to target. I don't think I'll have anybody over here on the Denver side when push comes to shove. They're all just pretty much GPP options at best for me. I just don't trust any of them too much in cash right now. But sliding over onto the Clippers side of the ball, no Paul George. Kawhi Leonard comes in at 9,300. Where do you stand on him? I guess he's kind of going to fall into that, right around that Kyrie Irving and Steph Curry territory. And I guess out of those three guys, how would you rank them?
With no Harden, Kyrie, Kawhi, Steph. This matchup is really good for Kawhi, and you figure that Michael Porter Jr. is going to be the one that's guarding him, and he still has his issues on the defensive end. No Paul George, just like there's no Harden, gives him a big boost here. I probably won't. I'm going to stick more to the Kyrie, but Kawhi would be the pivot option for me in that range.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, you just know you're getting such a comfortable floor with Kawhi at all times, too, especially knowing that there's no Paul George. And he's always got that 60 DK point upside baked into him. And it just, I guess you could say it's like it's a convection oven. That was a corny joke, Santino. But with no Paul George, it's just, we're looking at probably 45 to 60 pretty comfortably. And at 9,300, you're getting that paid for right there. So I wouldn't fault you. If you want to play him, I think I will have some shares of him. I don't know how it's going to shake out at the end of all my lineups, how much ownership I actually land on him with, but I expect myself to probably be right about even with the field. Outside of him, with no Paul George, we're going to see some usage. Reggie Jackson's kind of been on a burner. He's just been shooting the ball well, and the shot attempts have been there for him. So not a guy that I normally want to play, and I definitely don't feel comfortable playing. But if he's going to keep shooting the ball well, definitely a guy that we can look at. And I think Terrence Mann and Batum Batum, really stepped up in that last one, got a little quick spot start, and turned out 10 rebounds. Looks like regular Batum that we saw earlier in the year that kind of went missing. 2 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists. Is that anything more than a Batum line? Probably not, but definitely a guy that we could see draw another quick spot start if there's no Morris and if there is no George. So Batum, Man, and Kawhi Leonard are probably my 3 favorite plays, and I'll maybe throw in a hair of Reggie Jackson if I'm feeling risky.
And Luke Kennard's gotten the start a couple times, and he's had back-to-back double-digit shots, so he would be another guy I'd throw in there at 4-2. I would prefer him over Batum in that forward or that wing type spot because he's been playing more and taking more shots, and he's not afraid to shoot. Batum sometimes is. I know he does the grunt work, but don't mind there. But, yeah, I'm with you on the other guys. Kawhi, Reggie Jackson, for the reasons you mentioned. Man, he's been getting a lot of minutes. This guy's grabbing a lot of rebounds too. And Kennard would be the guys that I'm looking at because I'm pretty sure they already said Ibaka, Beverly, Rondo, they're all out again. That's a lot of, and Paul George. It's a lot of bodies out there. Marcus Morris is questionable. So you can look to this team against a Nuggets team that, while they do play at the second or one of the slowest paces in the league, they're a defense that you can get points on.
All right. That rounds us out, my good friend. That brings us to a close. But before we go anywhere, we have our player tiers. Our expensive, our mid, and our cheap. Our value. So I'll let you lead us off. Got a lot of options to choose from. We talked about a lot of guys. But who is your favorite expensive tier player?
And I think I kind of already said it multiple times. If I'm I'll just give 2 because Russell Westbrook's he is the highest priced guy in here, and I consider him the Super Saiyan tier. I think there's 4 different tiers. Everybody over 10K is in the Super Saiyan tier. I'll go Westbrook. If I'm going to go all the way up there, I just think he's the safest guy, especially if Beal doesn't play. Expect another 20-15-15 type of game at the minimum with upside to that. And then Kyrie Irving. I don't expect James Harden to play on the second end of a back-to-back. And they're playing against Charlotte. It's just this guy's going to I expect 25-plus shots, assuming the game should stay close. And that's more than enough for me to go some Kyrie Irving higher. And then he's going to be playing primary point guard, so he'll get those assists that he hasn't been getting lately with Harden there.
So if Westbrook's 11K is like Super Saiyan, I'm just trying to think of what was James Harden when he was last season just cooking folks. I think he was at like 12.6 at one point on DK. Might even almost been touched at 13K. Like what Super Saiyan level would that be considered? Like at what point? It'd probably be fairly high. I don't even know. I'm a little lost on my Dragon Ball Z knowledge, but I know that there's at least 4 or 5 Super Saiyan levels, so he'd probably be up there. I'm with you. Both those guys, fantastic plays. I'm also going to go with Ben Simmons. I think it would be my expensive tier guy. You touched on the 2 guys I would have named, so I'll go down a little bit. I'll go to Ben Simmons at 8,900. Still no Embiid going against Cleveland. Nobody in the paint to do anything against him, really. So I do think that Ben Simmons is a guy that I will be targeting. We'll go to that mid-tier range now. I hate that I put it at 7,500 because there's always a guy at that 78 or 79 I like. Like I would just lock in Ingram right now. But we'll go 75. Keep ourselves with a challenge. Santino, $7,500 or less.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say Ingram because I thought we usually do 8K or less. But in that the mid-tier range, I'm probably going to go lower end here and look at some Mason Plumley at 6K. I'm just looking at the matchup against Detroit, knowing that Daniel Gafford's going to be out again. Robin Lopez, Alex Len, Rui Hachimura, a Rock. None of these things scare me. So I'll go with Plumlee there.
Can't fault you. The Plumster. The Plum. Yeah, I'll stay on brand, and I think I'll just go with my boy DeJounte Murray at 7,100. I'm with you, and this is kind of what we alluded to early on, where this whole mid-tier range is a little bit, it's a little unappealing. There's a couple guys that we like a little bit higher, Ingram, Capella. We touched on those guys, but outside of them, you kind of want to skip. I want to skip over a lot of this range. But I do like Murray, 7,100 going against Atlanta. Trae Young defense never scares anybody unless it actually entices us. We usually want to get some shares. So I think DeJounte Murray in this matchup, 7,100, a guy that I could definitely look at. We'll go to the value tier. I think we have more than enough value. I think we could probably just change it up and say less than 4K if we wanted, but we'll keep it on brand, less than 5K. Santino, who's your favorite value play?
Yeah, I was gonna go under 4K anyway and just dig because I think we have a ton of them. I think Isaiah Hartenstein makes a lot of sense at 3,700, just out of sheer necessity. I mean, there's no Jared Allen, there's no Larry Nance. Probably there's going to be minimal Kevin Love, if any. This guy, who they don't have another center. The only other center on the team is a small forward, and that's Lamar Stevens, and he's the second tallest guy. And then you got Dean Wade. I mean, Hartenstein's got to play, assuming he doesn't get into foul trouble so quickly like he did in that first game. 34 minutes might be where he has to play. So 3,700 for 34 minutes. I'm all aboard.
Yep, I think that would probably be my first option as well. I can't go wrong with Hartenstein, regardless of whether he starts, whether he comes off the bench. We prefer him coming off the bench. That way the ownership gets driven down a little bit. So either way, fantastic play. He's going to be my top value play as well. So I can't pick him, though. You took my guy.
I don't know why you guys do this.
I mean, we can both play the same guy, but why not, get two? I mean, let's be realistic. If you're building multiple lineups, you might want to pivot off of Hartenstein based on ownership.
Okay, then stop eating time here and then throw one out there.
That's why you gotta call me out like that, man. Of course I'm eating time right here. I need a second. If I had to go with another value play, I guess in that price range, I'll probably keep it on brand under the 4K. There's not much here, man. I can't. I'm gonna go to your guy. I think I was gonna say Jerome Robinson if Beal sits, but I'm probably just gonna be on the Westbrook train so much that I'm not gonna want to play both those guys in the same lineup. So maybe I'll just go and look at your guy over there on the Clippers. I didn't mention him, but you touched on him, and that being Luke Kennard at 4,200. If all those other guys sits, he should be looking at a decent role, decent shot attempts. He's a guy that I never seem to get right, but again, if he's taking double-digit shot attempts, it's kind of hard to get him wrong in 30+ minutes at 4,200. So. It kind of feels weird. I never like recommending Luke Kennard because I just never get him right. But he's got the role. He's going to have the shot attempts. Damn, I wish I had Hartenstein in that. But that rounds us out, man. Anything else you want to say before we get out of here?
No, I'm pretty good. I think we covered it all. We have 7 games. Some news and stuff to shake out, especially in that New Orleans side with Zion. My initial thinking is he might not miss much time, if any, but it is a back-to-back, and this is the front end of a back-to-back, and they are facing the Magic. So I would think that they would lean on the side of caution, especially because all of last year they didn't want to play him. But so I would expect him to sit, but I've been wrong many of times with my assumptions on this crazy 2021 pandemic season.
Absolutely, and I'm kind of on board with you there. I think he sits well, but who knows? And we have also some news, some good stuff going on over here, guys. Things are growing. We need some more bodies. Plain and simple. We got some new roles opening up over here on the DFS Today side of things. Multiple positions, multiple levels. If you are interested, if you have the passion, if it's something that you could see yourself doing and you want to be a part of, you can message us, DM us on Twitter at Mike Apotria, MikeApotria. You can message Santino at Santino Caccone, SANTINO CACCONE, or you can even get a big dog Dan Bespris. If you're listening to the show, you know where Dan's at Dan Bespris. And shoot us some information, ask us some questions, let us know a little bit about yourself. If you have a resume, send it on in, whatever it may be. But we are looking to grow, and we want you guys to help. We want you guys to be a part of this. So come aboard. Get at us. Also, give us a thumbs up, rate and review, subscribe, 5-star, all that good stuff. Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, wherever you may be listening. And then if you screenshot that, send it on over to us on Twitter. Again, all this Twitter. And you'll get entered for a free fantasy pass. And it doesn't stop, Santino. I feel like Billy Mays. And wait, there's more. We're going to be hosting the first Hoopball DFS contest. This is a good one, Santino. It's actually a good announcement. I think you'll like this one. We're going to have the first Hoopball DFS contest this coming Friday. Not this Friday, the following Friday. I'm sorry. Not this Friday, but the following Friday. So about 10 days from now, 9 days from now, we'll have a contest. So it'll be about 25 entries in there. Once it fills, that's it. We'll maybe look into doing another one the following week. But I am going to put up something for the winner out of my own personal stash over here. I am a sports card collector. I am a hoops junkie. So I have probably over, I don't know, like I would say about 10,000 or so cards. So I'm going to find some good autographs, some good rookie cards, some good things that I think maybe some people might be interested in. Maybe I'll even let the winner select. Let me know what your favorite team is. I'll find something that maybe you like, and you will get that for free. You'll get a shout out. You'll get a mention on the podcast. And most of all, you get the bragging rights that you get to smoke a bunch of our experts over here, whether it's me, Santino. We'll have Keith in there. We'll have some other guys in there. Maybe Dan jumps in there. But most of all, we want to get you listeners in there. We want to play you guys. We want to get to hear from you. And it will be a blast. I know that when we used to do these, they were always a great turnout. So we're going to bring them back a little bit here. But 25 entries on the first one. We'll probably set it at about a $5 entrance fee. And I will be tweeting the link out, and you'll see that probably scattered around. But you're going to want to reserve it. Get in there quick. Only 25 entries. So at the hour mark, Santino, let's get out of here. Thank you guys for listening. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll be Santino running solo on that one, right? My good friend, you'll be going on that one?
Yeah, I'm going to be covering for the Thursday crew on that one.
The Thursday crew is now Santino. That's what's going on right now. He's handling the biz. But thank you guys for listening. Let's go out there. Let's take down some cash.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.
Ladies and gentlemen, today's opponents on Man vs. Train. At the crossing, we have Rick, a 175-pound frustrated man who's running late for work. And on the tracks, we have Bull, a 1,000,000-pound freight train that takes a mile to stop. Let's see who comes out on top.
You can't beat a train, so don't try. Stop. Trains can't. Paid for by NHTSA.
Better sleep means a better you. That's why Mattress Firm came up with the Rest Assured Promise, featuring the best mattresses from America's best mattress brands. Like the Temper Breeze collection, available now, with a $300 instant gift good towards your choice of sleep accessories. Visit with our sleep experts in-store, online, or by phone to find the right bed for you. Only at Mattress Firm, America's #1 Tempur-Pedic retailer. Offer valid with qualifying purchase. Restrictions apply. Valid at participating locations only. For offer details, visit mattressfirm.com/sale.